In the weekday readings of this week, I think it was Tuesday, in that gospel in John, Jesus ends up saying, "It's better for you if I go away." And it's one of those like, wait, what? Initially like, wait, And of course, they were a little taken back. Like, you were here, you died, you rose again, now you're leaving. What's next? What's going on here? But it's how he says it in John there. It's better for you if I go away. And this is the time of year where it's not a bad thing to reflect on. It's a graduation season, and that's what happens for a lot of people. I know working in a school, sometimes you look and go, we've had these guys with us for 4 to 6 years, and they're like, now they're leaving us. How can you leave us? And, you want them to stay. Well, most of them. You want most of them to stay. Some you're like, oh, get out of here. No, love them all equally, just like a parent does their child. But my thought is, because it's true, right? And parents know that, times a trillion. They know that reality of the pain that is to set someone free. And there are parents in this room that if they could say something to Zach and Allison about, this goes fast, right? This just goes so fast. Here's Amelia ready to be baptized. And man, there are many in this room that could go, I remember that. It goes fast. And yet here's the thing about that transition, right? That yes, the baby bird has to leave the nest to, grow and all of that stuff. But also the ones left behind have to grow. Something new has to happen for them. It's not a static life for any of us. Just something worth thinking about is, some people are like, well, same for us in schools. They say, well, I've got to become someone better or at least different as a result of that experience. That's the reality of what's being asked of us, that we make these connections between that motion that happens everywhere. And because it is better that children leave the nest, right? Otherwise, they're stuck as little boys and little girls. They have to go away to become the adult, then to return and to offer a different gift, a different component to the family and to the whole relationship. It ties in neatly with what Jesus was talking about being pruned, right? That our relationships do change, and it's not always fun. It's difficult, and there are things that we regret about when things change. But it's also this great gift for us. And it's what a wonderful thing to be thinking about as we're preparing to add a young one to our community in this sacramental sense, to think about it that way. Because that's precisely what Jesus does for us, right? We have to have faith in Jesus. That's part of what brings us here as a church. Faith, and we believe and have faith in Jesus Christ. That's great. But what Ascension says is, God has faith in you. I'm leaving, this is your job now, I have faith in you. And most of us can think of an example where we taught something that we knew to someone else. It could be something as simple as Grandma's Christmas cookie recipe. It could be something as complicated as teaching a resident doctor how to do heart surgery, right? And everything in between. But there's something in our lives where we had to teach something to someone, but at some point you had to surrender it and go, they've got to do it now. And I pray that I taught them well. My mom's dad, my grandfather on my mom's side, lived to be 96. And just one of those larger-than-life people. But he used to say about raising kids, he had 8 of his own and 40-some grandchildren. But he used to say, you really raise a kid till they're about 12 or 13, and then you pray you did it well. Because they just really stop listening to their parents, right? Like, that's a piece of wisdom there. But so when we do teach, when we say, I'm going to pass this on, there has to be trust. There has to be faith that it's going to work. And so what was left for us to do when Jesus Christ ascends is the work of the Father, is the work of bringing the kingdom of God to earth. And so that's a challenge for us and how we live it, but it's also a challenge in how we support each other. We're saying in this baptism that we will support this family in raising this young woman. And so what does that look like? And where does that take all of us in each and every relationship? Because if we're not connected at that level, what are we doing? Are we really just a collection of individuals that happen to be sitting in the same room right now? What a terrible image. What a terrible thing. The gospel for the 7th Sunday of Easter is the one where Jesus says, that they would be one, Father, as we are one. And so we're called to that unity. That's hard. It's difficult. But think about the trust, think about the patience and the mercy needed for God to say, I'm giving this to you. Because our history books are full of us not doing it well. Our history books are full, and of us doing it well too, by the way. You see beautiful examples, lives of the saints, where people just poured it out for others. And I don't know about you, but that's what makes me want to be a part of this faith tradition. It's why I believe in Jesus Christ. It's why I believe in the real presence of the Eucharist, is because of how others lived it out. How when it was entrusted to them, that they shared it to me, and then at some point said, go do it. And we do it, not perfectly, but hopefully, at least faithfully. That's the invitation. Whether it's a beautiful sacramental experience of baptism, whether it's just an opportunity to have a discussion with someone we haven't talked to in a while. It's all of it. It has to be our connection to each other. That's the invitation made to us today. To see that his ascension is very little to do with Jesus and more to do with God saying, I trust you. I'm entrusting with you the salvation of the world, if you will. Jesus did the hard work. He conquered sin and death, as I said to the young ones. He did the hard work. But now our work is to make sure that others know that light and that love and that mercy. And so today's the day we get to practice it. We're strengthening ourselves in the community today. We've heard his word. We'll have his real presence within us here in just a few minutes, so that when we go forth from here, it's to share that. It's to share what we know. It's to share our experience of love and mercy, to be patient with one another. May God be praised.